Welcome again, student. In the second part of this video, I was explaining you India after independence. So let's continue this chapter with the topic planning for development. After creating various states and delegating powers between the center and state, the country decided to develop itself. For this, rigorous planning was done in order to develop the country. The major objectives of the new nation were to lift India and Indians out of the poverty and also to build a modern technical and industrial base. A planning commission was set up in 1950 to help in designing and executing suitable policies for economic development. The country wanted to have development with the concept of mixed economy. Now here mixed economy means an economy where there is a participation of both public, that is government, and private sector for the development of the country. So mixed economy means an economy where there is participation of both government and private sector for the development of the country. So the need of the hour was that both government and the private sector would play important and complementary roles in increasing production and generating jobs. Roles mentioned here were what has to be planned by the planning commission. Heavy industry. In 1956, the second 5-year plan was formulated. A 5-year plan is a plan made by India for the next 5 years to decide what types of development it wants to achieve for itself. So when the second 5 years plan was formulated, the main focus was on the development of heavy industries such as steel and building large dams. These sectors were kept under the control of the government. The focus on heavy industry and the efforts of keeping economy under the state regulation for the next few decades was supported by many. Though there were some opponents too, some people felt that the second 5-year plans had not put an adequate emphasis on agriculture. Others said that the primary education was not given due importance. Some people thought that it had not taken account of the environmental implications of the economic policies. Mahatma Gandhi's follower Mirabai wrote in 1949 that science and technology can earn huge income for a time, but later on, if we don't try to maintain nature's balance, then we will not be able to live a healthy and morally decent life. Soon after gaining independence, India had to decide its foreign policy also, as the of 1950s to 1960s saw the emergence of the Cold War between the two powers, that is the USA and the USSR. Both the countries were creating military alliances, but India had just attained independence from the colonial rule, and so had some other countries too. Therefore, Nehru, who was also the foreign minister of newly independent India, developed Free India's foreign policy in the contest. Non-alignment formed the bedrocks of this foreign policy. The policy stated that stay away from alliances but to remain aloof was not the main element, as India played an important role in mediating between the America and the Soviet alliances. So now we know that after attaining independence, the Indian policy maker had to go through so many details to form various policies for Indians, and not only this, there were huge hurdles in their path. Somehow they managed to make what was good for the nation. So what has the nation achieved after the 70 years of the independence, and what is still left to be achieved? Let's discuss now. The nation 70 years on. On 15 August 2017, when India celebrated its 70 years of independence, it proudly stood as a united and democratic nation. A democratic nation is a country where the government is by the people, for the people, and of the people. Many foreign observers felt that India could not survive as a single country and had it would split into many small countries on the basis of linguistic groups. Others said that it would come under military rule, but this did not happen, and the best part is that many elections have been held, as well as hundreds of local and states elections have been held since independence. We have a free press as well as an independent judiciary. This means that there is freedom of speech and expression, and no one can influence the judgment for his or her own benefit. The people follow different faiths and speak different languages. This does not come in the way of nation unity. On the other hand, deep division persists. Though disadvantaged Indians were guaranteed equality in the constitution, they still face violence and discrimination. Still, there are clashes between different religious groups in many states. Even the inequality between rich and poor has grown over the years. Still, some parts of India and some Indians have benefited from the economic development. They lead a luxurious life as they live in large houses, send their children to expensive school, etc. At the same time, many others still live below the poverty line. Their life is miserable. Either they live in urban slum or in the remote villages. They can't afford education for their children. According to the constitution, everyone is equal in the eyes of law. But in reality, some Indians are more equal than others. We can conclude that the Republic of India has not been a great success, but it has not been a failure either. It is the largest democracy in spite of being a land of diversity. It is still united. In fact, there is unity in diversity. So students, this was our chapter India after independence. I hope you all have understood well. Now it's time to say goodbye. So take care and thank you for watching my video.